All right, everybody. You are watching Defenders Live with Lora Thorson tonight. Thank you so much for attending. First of all, I just want to let you know, if you want to communicate tonight on the live and you're attending in the room live, you need to go down to the chat button, and that is where we'll be interacting with each other in the chat. We're going to go over the order tonight, but first I want to let you know, if you're watching this as a replay and you want to attend the next live, just go to jnltraining.com there and sign up for notifications, and you'll be able to get an email with a link to the next week's live. We have them every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. All right, so tonight's order is, well, I'm just going to shout out some names here from the Defenders team. I see we have some Defenders instructors on here tonight. We're going to talk about why we're here, because we need to do that. Anytime we're on these, we need to know why we're here. Then we're going to go into some announcements and lessons for the week. And then my most important thing tonight that I want to iterate to you is that we have a special guest on, Brian Hill from the Complete Combatant. I am super stoked to have him on, and I know a lot of you guys are excited to see him here tonight as well. Make sure that you drop your questions in the chat if you have any questions for Brian along the way. So first of all, if you have never met me and you don't know who I am, my name is Lora Thorson. I'm an instructor with Defenders USA. And if you want to know more about me, you can go back to the July 27th live. That was the first live that I did. I talk about my story and why I'm here. You can also find that on the Defenders USA YouTube channel, as well as the Defenders Live Facebook page. If you want to see more about my bio and my credentials, you can go to defenders-usa.com, and you can learn about me as well as all the other Defenders instructors and the mission behind Defenders USA. So I want to welcome on the call tonight, in addition to my friend Brian Hill from the Complete Combatant, I want to welcome some of the Defenders team. We've got Adam Winch on here tonight. He is the founder and lead instructor of Defenders USA. We also have Brent Hickman here. He's an instructor in Colorado. Dave Heidi's on tonight, I saw. And let me see who else. Dylan Wells, one of our newest instructors from Texas, is on tonight. And I think that's all that I see so far. Often Miles will come in a little bit late to the party, but if he comes in, I might shout out to him as well. So why are we here tonight? We're here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. because we want to grow you as a defender. And what we mean by that is that you can grow as a good shooter, but what we're really here for is to help you grow personally as a defender. We know that personal growth and shooting growth go hand in hand, and we want to work to help you become better people in your lives, in your everyday lives, and that's going to translate to your shooting on the range. So that's what we're here for. If you haven't already, go ahead and shout out in the chat where you're from. I would love to know where all of you guys are from here tonight. I know that we have Adam here from Arizona. We've got some people here from Colorado. And of course, some wonderful people from Montana. I don't want to favor the Montana people, but honestly, I kind of do a little bit. Tori is here from Kentucky. I don't think he's there tonight, but I don't know where he's at exactly. I think he's on the road. But we're happy to have him. And then, of course, some Georgia guys here tonight. That's wonderful. And Michigan. We've also got someone here from Virginia, South Carolina. So we've got people from all over the country here tonight. That's super exciting. I'm so glad that you're here. So I just want to shout out some announcements here before we get started. I've got some announcements, and then I've got a really short tidbit for the week. It will pale in comparison, I'm sure, to anything Brian Hill will have to say about it, but it is just my little lesson for the week that I come across in my everyday life. And if I think it'll help you, then I will certainly pass it on. So big announcements. Next week, we have John Correa from Active Self-Protection coming on, and that's super exciting. We've also got Robin Sandoval the week after that from A Girl and a Gun. That's on September 14th. On September 21st, we're going to have Juan Rivas here from Arizona. He has a survival story that he's going to share with us that I think you're really going to want to tune in for. He's excited to come on, and he's a super, super nice guy. I talked to him on the phone the other day, and I'm excited to hear more about his story. on the 28th of September, I have pinned Adam Winch down. He's a certified CrossFit instructor. He's going to talk to us about strengthening our shooting platform and more importantly, doing it from home with no equipment. So I think that's going to be a really good episode to tune into as well. And then I just scheduled today, October 5th, we're going to have Carrie Dudenhofer, I think I said that correctly, from Carrie Concealed in Washington. She's going to talk to us about her business, but also the active self-protection instructor certification program. So you won't want to miss that on October 5th. So we've got some great guests lined out, and super excited to share those people with you. I can't even believe the quality, the wonderfulness, the hearts of the people that I have been surrounded by this past year. It has been a whirlwind, wonderful experience. And I'm so grateful for that. So, all right. So very quickly, I don't want to take up too much time because I want to hear everything Brian Hill has to say. But very quickly, I just want to share with you a little tidbit for the week. Now, you know how last week we talked about being honest with ourselves. We've talked about that in the past, about being emotionally honest, but about being honest with ourselves. Well, I had, some days you're really on, like you're feeling really good. You're mentally focused, like you're checking things off your list for the day. You're feeling pretty good about life. And then there's some days where you just are like, you're riding the struggle bus, right? I mean, I know we've all been there. I totally have. Yesterday, I was riding the struggle bus, guys. I really was. I think some of the Defenders team picked up on it. I was completely overwhelmed. I was in over my head. I had just come back from a trip and I was hitting the ground running as soon as I got back from that. And it was deep. It was deep. And I was just overwhelmed. And I let that get to me. But in true Lora form, I tried to muscle my way through it. I tried to muscle my way through my day. And how did that go? Not very well. It's funny because I do that on the shooting range too. I just try to muscle my way through it. I'm learning, guys. I'm a work in progress, just like everybody else, right? But I tried to muscle my way through it, and I worked to shift. I tried really hard to shift my negative attitude to positive, but it was not easy. And quite honestly, it didn't really work. The harder I tried, the harder it got for me, and I just couldn't shake it. And I was thinking about it today because today's a new day. Thank God every day is a new day, right? You can start off with a clean slate and you can make a choice to do differently. And I was thinking about it in retrospect today and about my last episode about being emotionally honest. And I had a light bulb moment, you guys. My light bulb moment was I realized that yesterday I was not wanting to be emotionally honest with myself. Because what I was doing was I was trying not to feel what I was feeling. I did not want to be negative. I didn't want to feel like I was overwhelmed and bogged down, even though I was. And I was just trying to just grit my teeth and just get through it. And I was going to be positive, by God, by the end of the day. And it just didn't work out. And so I just remembered that, instead of fully accepting the state that I was in, I was remember when I was talking about my running, when I was having trouble running the other day, and I was talking about moving through it. I was fighting that again, where I wasn't wanting to accept the state that I was currently in, and that I was fighting it. And so reflecting on that, I just want to touch on this because I think, that it might help you next time you're on the struggle bus, because we're all in there once in a while. But sometimes if we can just be honest with ourselves, I think that we're able to move past something more quickly than if we just pretend like it's not happening. Because when we do that, we just prolong it, in my opinion, from my experience. And fighting it just makes it worse. So I just wanted to bring that up also, because one of my promises to you guys from day one is that I might not be perfect, that, but I want to be real with you guys. And I just want to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm not going to be 100% wonderful every single time I'm on here. Maybe, I don't know, but just admitting that I had a bad day and that I got through it and today's a new day, like maybe that helps somebody else out there to not have to, like, I think like on social media, people want to like pretend like they're happy all the time. And I don't think we should be happy all the time. Also, I think they're lying, but it drives me nuts to see fake people pretending like they're happy all the time. And I think sometimes the sucky stuff makes you appreciate all the good stuff even more, you know? And life would be boring if we were in the same state all the time, you know? So my goal is to try to embrace the good with the bad a little bit more and appreciate that it's normal to have a bad day and just learn from it and move on. And I think that that's a lesson I took away from that yesterday. As much as I struggle with it, as much as I fought it, if I would have just embraced it and been like, you know, honest about it, I think I could have got through it a lot easier. So I think that can apply to our shooting guys too on the range. It really, really can. I mean, there's nothing that we don't learn in everyday life that can't be applied to shooting. So I don't know if that helped anybody, but I just wanted to share that really quick because you're not the only one going through that. And hopefully that helps. All right. So before we get into my questions for Brian, I have a few more announcements. I want to talk about some defenders classes real quick. Just humor me on this, guys, because I was looking at the website before I went on, and I could not believe all the classes that just like are appearing on the website. It's insane. So I just want to let you know where we're going to be at and the various instructors that we're going to have teaching. So I'm going to be having some handgun fundamentals classes coming up. This is just for the month of September. That's all I looked at on the website, guys. By the way, tomorrow is September. If you haven't dealt with that yet, tomorrow is September. I have handgun fundamentals class coming up in Montana in the month of September. Adam has classes in Arizona. He also has some concealed carry and handgun fundamentals classes in Colorado, as well as Hank Omby, Dave Heidi, Brent Hickman, and Rob Lauren at different times throughout the month. Then I noticed there's a Girl in a Gun sniper school coming up. That's for a Girl in a Gun members only. I believe that's in Texas, but I could be wrong. Yes? No? Okay, sorry, Adam. I'm not sure where that's at, but that is coming up in September. Dry Fire Symposium and Handgun Fundamentals is coming up in Texas. That one is being taught by Adam and Dylan Wells. And then we have, did you put it in the chat? No, put it in the chat, Adam. And then we're having a long range precision 1 class in Colorado. That's going to be, boy, that's going to be a party. September 16th, taught by Russell Anthon. Is that how I say his last name? Anthon? Russell Anthon. Okay. Miles Standish, Hank Omby, and Adam Winch. That is going to be a party. Okay. And it looks like that class that the sniper school is going to be in Colorado, Adam just said. And then finally, Adam's going to be at the Active Self-Protection National Conference in Kansas towards the end of September. And he's going to be teaching, according to the website, unconventional fighting handgun, fighting rifle applications, and defensive options. So that will be good to go to as well. If you want to see all those classes, just go to defenders-usa.com, click on upcoming courses, and you can get tuned into everything that's going on through Defenders USA. Let's see. Next live stream date is September 7th, next Wednesday. That's John Correa with Active Self-Protection. So if you have any questions for John Correa, that would be helpful to hear from you in the emails that I send you. If you want to reply to those, if you have any questions for John and you're not going to be on the live. And let's see, I think that's all that I need to say about that. Now, let me introduce my special guest, Brian Hill, the complete combatant. I'm not quite sure what kind of an introduction do you give this guy? I mean, just an outstanding person, an outstanding human. He has helped me so much in so many ways. Once you've taken a class from Brian Hill, it feels like you can't get enough of him. Like you just have to keep going back. It's kind of like Adam, kind of like Adam's classes in that regard, but Brian is just a one-of-a-kind guy. I met him for the first time in person in June. I took a deliberate coaching class from him in Colorado when he was doing classes with Defenders USA. And gosh, the guy, like just a wealth of knowledge, decades of teaching experience, and a deep well of insight, deep well of insight and information. He's never at a loss for words. And I always learn so much from him every time that I talk to him or see him. And I was really proud of myself, guys, because Brian Hill, I gotta say this. Brian Hill was the first person, even though James was on last week, Brian Hill was actually the first person that I was brave enough to ask to come on this live. And I don't even know if I've gone live yet once or not. And he very like just jovially just said, absolutely, I would love to come on. And I about fell over in my chair. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't believe it. And I was so proud of myself for being brave to ask, because you don't know, guys, unless you ask. So that was kind of a lesson for me too. So thank you, Brian, for saying yes and coming on this live. Super, super excited to have you on. And if you would just start out, they're not everybody knows who you are. So if you'll just start out with your background and your mission, which in and of itself is quite a story, we would love to hear it.
Well, you're hired. You can do my plugs from now on. I like that a lot. That was awesome. Good to see everybody. It looks like a party with all my friends are here. And thank you for stopping in. What do you say about yourself? It's always so hard to introduce yourself, because we don't look at ourselves in the same way other people do. But my true purpose in life was to survive a horrific childhood with parents who had gone through a very traumatic experience themselves and were inept and incapable of raising a human being. So I had to raise myself, and you can see a Captain America shield in the back. I adopted comic books, and I wanted to grow up to be a superhero. And Kwa Jing Kang came into it, and I wanted to be a martial artist. So I looked for structure in my life. And being a very awkward young man because of the situation I was in, I learned a way to interject myself into people's life and to have value and to be purposeful and meaningful. And that was through teaching. And from the moment I started training in martial arts, I couldn't wait to teach. There was no fear in that. And I thought, this is my goal in life. And since then, now it's 4 decades of teaching. And teaching martial arts, teaching firearms, teaching knives, teaching impact weapons, grappling, jiu-jitsu, fighting as a professional fighter, some time as law enforcement, running my own training company, running my own gym. And it is a truly, I'm 57 now, and I feel like I've just gotten to the point where I'm supposed to be, and I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing in life. And it took a lot of hard turns. There was a lot of interesting things in the last 2 years, and I'm super excited to be here and spend time with you guys. And Laura, I would always say yes because we need you, not because you're female, and not because of this, and not because of that. It's because you want to take care of people and you want to do a good job. And I see that lacking in the industry occasionally. So I'm very happy to be it. And I think Adam's created a company that is one of the most progressive training companies in the country. And I will always step forward and support that in any way that I can.
Wow. Thank you. Oh gosh, where do you go from there? I have a whole list here. I'm not running out of questions. So, I asked James this on the last live, and I think it's interesting to hear different points of view. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you feel like what is the difference between a defender and a shooter?
So, if you're truly a defender, from my background, especially a lot of us that came up in poor family life, we only have 2 choices in life. That sort of trauma narrows the brain pattern, and what happens is either you become a perpetrator or you become a defender or protector. And the defender seeks the challenge of standing up for what's morally and ethically right, and is willing to step forward and put themselves in harm's way because they believe that sacrifice and love is the way to do things. Where a shooter is simply mechanically mastering the fundamentals of doing a technical presentation. They're very good at it, they're confronting themselves, they're getting better at what they do in their art. But someone who truly wants to be a defender is going to accept life's challenges and will put themselves in harm's way to protect another person or to step up and cure what's wrong, to teach what needs to be taught, to say what needs to be said, to explore the truths that nobody else wants to look at, so that we can find a better way and we all can grow together. So I find your question to be more of one is a singular pursuit. I also consider myself a shooter, and I spend a lot of time on that. And it is a self-reflective period of intrapersonal exploration. But mostly my life is, how can I find a way for people to get better at what they want to do? How can they become more comfortable with who they are? And how can they protect themselves against life's challenges? Hopefully it's not something horrible, like violence. But as you were talking about today, every challenge can be very small. Anger is the agent of change, and it tells us that we're dissatisfied with the progress that have to step forward with fearlessness, which means not an absence of fear, but with the fear is fully embraced, and we do it anyway. So I think a defender is somebody who faces the challenges and puts themselves in harm's way, whether it be their own harm or somebody else's, and will be there to do the right thing at the right time and seek the truth always, even if they don't want to hear what it says.
Yeah, and it's funny that you brought up working on getting more comfortable with yourself, because one of the comments that was made on the last live about what is a good leader, one of the first comments was someone that knows themselves well, that's comfortable with themselves. So I think that's interesting that you brought that up yet again. So, okay. So the next thing I want to ask you is, could you talk about one of the most impactful teaching moments that you've had, either as a teacher or as a student?
But it feels like every week, every time there's something. Kara's going to recognize this one, because I was in class last week and I had a gentleman, and he was struggling from the moment he walked through the door. He really couldn't sit still. He showed up late. He was unfocused. I was told by the host that he'd been in class before, and that he wasn't the greatest gun handler. And so I see those sort of challenges as a coach as the thing I'm looking for in life. It's very easy to take somebody like Chris Bean and Adam Winch and help them shoot a little bit better, and Kara, because they're truly good at what they do already and they know what direction they're going. But this gentleman wasn't sure of his place or how to do it. And what I did was I stayed with him and I stayed present, and I did not let him veer from the course. I applied very stern leadership to him. I called him out when I felt like he wasn't paying attention. I also stayed with him and I taught him the things that I did. I did not allow my aggravation with the class or with him slowing things down to ever be apparent, because the teaching was the true challenge. And the first day, he really had a hard shooting process. But the second day was a tremendous improvement in his ability, and his gun handling got better. And I saw his confidence grow. And I don't know if anybody's ever stood there and been present for him and when he was struggling in his life. And I think that's probably what's missing a lot of times. And that's what's impactful as a teacher. I become your advocate for success. I become the good friend that will stand with you as you struggle. And just as you said earlier, I will accept your struggle and I will be a part of it. And everybody will get better eventually, because we need to be that good friend. A good friend celebrates. And that's one thing I preach in my class. And I made this guy celebrate with me a couple of times. He felt totally self-conscious about it. And then I also stood with him while he struggled. I didn't praise him unnecessarily unless he did what he was supposed to. But being present with people as a teacher, as they go through these dramatic confrontations with these small parts of who they are and that they have to overcome, maybe gives them the resilience later in life when they face a bigger challenge to become more than they were, to know that they are capable and truly available to face these things. So I think as the teacher, that's it. That's, we all love to see people get a little bit better, but I love to see the person being revealed as if a polishing is being applied to them, and see who's really there, and seeing them grow into who they are, and to be there to celebrate their successes and to stand with them quietly as they struggle, and to give them the support that I always wanted myself, because sometimes you're close, and I'm always excited when an athlete's struggling, because that means they're ready to change. And I think this was truly impactful with him. But I think everywhere I go, I meet somebody like that in class. And I think, when you're a good shooter, you get ignored. And when you're a bad shooter, you get ignored or you get thrown out. And I think that's a horror in it. Everybody requires my time, my attention, my presence, my mindfulness, and what I can do with them. So as a teacher, I make sure that I am fully present for every student as much as I can be. And I fail. I am a human being. I fail constantly and miserably, and I pick myself up and I dust myself off. but I'm surrounded by good people and good folks like you guys, and you remind me that the work's important and we do it together, and it's a synergistic effect in teaching. Maybe the teacher's leading the class, but we're all doing it together and we all get stronger. And I watch people walk away with their posture change, their head up, knowing that they did well, thinking about who they are, and then being willing to chase the new challenges instead of being disappointed in it.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of ties into another question I wanted to ask you. Could you explain how emotional states and different ways of learning affect performance on the range? It sounds like you kind of went into that already.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. We all think our personality is what guides us, but biology is something we really can't overcome. When we're in a performance modality, we get to choose 5 really good chemicals or 2 really poor chemicals, which is adrenaline and cortisol, and learn effectively. We need to be in an emotional ambivalence, which means we can't be completely comfortable where we're at. We have to be a little stirred up. We have to be stretching a little bit. Emotion is often cemented by a bit of challenge, and our learning is cemented by that. So it's important that an instructor is exceptionally good at Q, which is the emotional quotient. We need to be interpersonal geniuses with that, because what we're always trying to do is, it's simple, but it's hard. Some people you have to pump up, and some people you have to settle down. And when they talk about the fight is won or lost in a locker room, it's not because we give great speeches like they do in the movies. It's because the management of the emotions is exceptional at that time. So if you're too excited, you overextend yourself, you burn yourself out, you're no longer able to concentrate. If you're underexcited and you don't stretch a little bit, there's really no learning going on. You're just doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And really all you can get from that is atrophy, because, if we lift the same weight, we don't get stronger. We have to stretch. And emotion is what we are. We want to believe we're creatures of logic. And I always make this joke in class. I said, if you know a truly logical person, just tell them they're wrong and see how much emotion comes out, because they get mad right then, right? So we're emotional creatures. And that's what good coaches really tend to do, is ride the crest, ride the valley, help people surf through it, understand that this is common. This is the way we go, and this is the progress. It is not just a technical pursuit of perfection. You're a human creature with highs and lows, lots of emotion. And if you can tap into them, you can change your biology, which allows you to perform at a much higher level. Processing power improves, coordination improves, speed and function improves. And what really comes out of emotional balance is that your self-image becomes cemented in who you think you really are. What I see a lot of people in shooting emotionally is they don't know who they are, and they just hope it works out when they come up. And they hope that the moment's right, or they get lucky. And even if they do well, they feel like, well, that was just luck in that moment. But if you know who you are, and, it's funny to listen to you talk about anger, because, man, people don't get this. I am an angry human being. I fought other people for fun in a cage. I am a chaotic, passionate person at heart, but I adopted the idea of stoicism and structure so I could control it, because otherwise I was damaging my life in every direction. And once I learned this sort of surfing, it gave me almost a superhuman ability to be at ease within my own skin, so that my emotions are important, but they don't define who I am. My self-image does, and allows me to perform at my highest level.
So some people think, though, that self-image just means that like, define self-image for us
Okay.
then.
So self-image is the belief of who you really think you are. We think it's confidence, but it's not truly confidence. If I ask a shooter in class, and many of you have been in my class, and I asked this at the beginning of class, who are you as a shooter? And people are like, well, they don't want to say anything good. They don't want to say anything. And they want to tell me all the things they want to improve. And it's like a laundry list of some sort of sample checklist that they saw on Instagram or something. I'd like to be faster, and I'd like to have a better draw, and I want a sub-second thing. And that has nothing to do with self-image. Self-image is something that defines your strengths and your weaknesses. So I always say this, I've used ACE, which I got from Kwanzaa Kim, and it is accuracy, consistency, efficiency, and discipline is who I am as a shooter. The context of the shooting allows me to perform at my highest skill level, which I've earned through practice. So when the stress comes on me at that moment and, I feel unworthy, it doesn't affect me because I know I've done what I'm supposed to do. I know who I am, and I know I've performed at this level before. And then if somebody talks a little smack to me on the line, it empowers me because I know who I am. And you can't shake that. You simply, my mood, being hot, being thirsty, being hungry, not having the right shoes on, not being right next to the next person is not who I am. Those are my responses to stimulus. Who I am is who at the center that I train to be every day. And self-image is developed through discipline. And discipline is a daily manifestation of pursuing the things that are meaningful. And that's how you develop a good self-image. Laney Bastian's book on With Winning in Mind is a great place to start. He struggled as an Olympic athlete and was unable to put in his best performance until he truly knew who he was. And two things I talk about in class that I want to go through real quickly is false humility. I detest people that are really good at stuff and say they're not, because either they're looking for praise for something they've already achieved, or they're trying to tell me that they're less than they are. And as a fighter, I won't accept that. And I also dislike the other side of it is the constant criticism of ourselves to be less than we are. I'm not good at anything. I don't succeed. I've never have. That simply can't be true. You're here. You've had winning and losing along the way. So both are equally not who you are. Who you are is what you decide to be on a daily basis. And, we say words become actions, actions become deeds, and deeds become the manifestation of character for the rest of your life. So what you do on a daily basis and how you think and how you approach life is the thing that we have to build for self-image.
Yeah, and that's a daily thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Daily. Okay. You always talk about, I've watched some of your other interviews, by the way, but on a different interview, on a different interview, you talked about how you're always changing your mind. And so my question to you is, what is something new that you've learned this year that's changed your mind about something? Or should I say something new you've learned this week that's changed your mind about something?
Maybe even today. So listen, the brain is made up of bias, which is a filter. Some of us take in information very slowly, but we don't let it out. Some of us take a lot of information in, but we also lose it at the same time. So depending on your bias, if you're really, really conservative in information intake, you tend to be very stubborn in life. It's hard to change your mind. It takes a lot of prodding and poking. And then if you tend to be really progressive in your approach, it's hard to hold on to information you're changing all the time. So my approach is always finding something that's exciting and I'm curious about. So that's how you change. What am I curious about? Well, does this really work the way I thought it did? Of course, Kara was in this class. I decided this week that my red dot class was not going in the direction I wanted it to. So on the second day, all I talked about was vision, but I didn't talk about vision like other people talk about it. I talked about perception. I talked about hand speed. I talked about trigger speed. I talked about the way that we see and predict and shoot in a reactive and deliberate manner. And what it allowed me to change was, for the first time in my life, everything came together in a unified concept of what I mean when I say seeing and perceiving. So I changed my mind about perception tremendously this week. And then it was very interesting. When you have that, I don't know if people understand this, but you feel naked when you have these moments in life because you're totally vulnerable to them, and that's why people don't want them. They feel really, really vulnerable in that moment. So I went out today and I did a video on it before I lost it, because when I do the active self-protection extra videos on Monday, I pick something I see in class because it's hard to come up with fresh content, right? You're always looking for something. So I did a whole video on this today. And it almost felt like I'm not teaching, but it was being taught through me, that it's something different. that this is the way that I need to progress, because I find people with red dots are still shooting dot focused and not target focused. And I don't think that the way I've been explaining and doing things is getting them past that. So what I've changed my mind on is I've got to stop talking about the dot. I got to stop talking about your eyes, and I got to talk about your perceptions and how they dictate the way you shoot, and how I can help you change the ideas that you have to allow you to shoot in different methodology. So that's what I changed this week. It's a small thing, right?
Well, now I'm going to have to take another one of your classes so I can hear that. All right. So let's see here. Another question. I didn't run this one by you, but I don't think you care what question I give you. What advice would you give to someone who feels like they're at a plateau and they're looking for a breakthrough? And that could apply to a lot of things.
Well, I'm a big fan of Jocko Willink, so I'm going to say good. If you're at a plateau, that's good, because you're about to grow. Athletes always plateau out. And what that means is now we're dissatisfied with our progress. A lot of people think that we kind of progress the whole time. But if we look at human beings, they move forward, they move backwards, they spiral a little bit. They don't really progress in a straight line. And when we're feeling that stagnation, what usually comes on a plateau is dissatisfaction with our standard, our status quo. And now we're ready to change and do something different. So, a lot of people on here, I have a pretty fast draw. And then I was standing at the mingle, and my assistant instructors, who were no light assistants, but full instructors, was Chris Bean and Neil Widener. And God gave them some really good neurons, and they can go super fast. So, when I said, "Hey, what's your best draw?" They said, I can get a 0.8. And I felt the dissatisfaction in that moment. I was like, well, I can't let that stand. I got to get a little bit better than that. So how do I get better than that? That's what I do, is I find some way to push through that plateau. So they were the catalyst of my plateau, and I recognize that I'm just standing still. What's the end result of a concealed draw from appendix carry? We don't know yet. This is a new thing. We're all just working on it. So Adam and I had a good discussion about it, and maybe 0.7s are available, maybe 0.6s are available. We really don't know, but the plateau was the teacher, and the Stoics say the obstacle is the way. And once the obstacle is the way, we learn and we get better at what we're doing. So it's good when you hit a plateau. Know you're about to progress, know that you're in a valley, and that you're going to move up from here, unless you do the one thing that will absolutely kill your progress, which is quit.
Okay. Tori has a question here in the chat I wanted to throw out. It kind of goes back to one of the other points you were making. At what point does low self-confidence become more of a false humility, and how do you tell the difference?
So to keep it in a shooting context, it's pretty easy. What is your performance mode? So when people talk about scores, I had somebody shoot a really good score in class, and it's been interesting. Last 3 classes, maybe 4, all the top shooters have been women. That's a win. All right, because shooting doesn't know anything about gender, doesn't care. Guns don't care. As a physical activity, it's up there athletically with throwing darts. So there's really no advantage to any part of being bigger and stronger. Fast is an advantage if you got it, but it requires coordination. So what does performance mode tell us? Well, if we shoot the same drill over and over, say I shoot it 10 times, there's going to be a really high score. I need to throw that out. That's not who I am. Maybe I connected. Maybe I got lucky. We all get lucky every once in a while. So I throw that one away. But there's also going to be a really low score in that. I'm going to throw that away. And I'm going to look in the middle of these scores and see whether I'm trending up or down. Am I staying still? Am I trending well? And am I practicing? The problem with the confidence is if it's not buttressed by practice, it's not real confidence. And when I say practice, people think I mean a lot of time, but three times a week for 5 minutes a day is a tremendous amount of practice for this skill. You can get really good doing that. So in order to answer this question is do the work, test yourself over and over by measuring it, Try to refine what you're doing and then get back to performing. Once you perform something over and over, you start to realize is I can do this on demand. It's not a wild thing. It wasn't a thing. And this is who I truly am. And all of you know my great hate of when people say they're not ready on the line. Then I dismiss them from the line if they say they guess they're ready, because I want you to be ready and I want you to measure yourself as best you can. And if you don't like the answer, that's fine. As Jocko would say, good, it's time to change. And that's how you build the confidence. I don't like what I see, so I'm going to change something. I've lost 30 pounds. I did a big commercial shoot. I looked at the video and I decided this isn't the right weight for me. I'm not fighting anymore. I didn't like what I saw. So on a daily basis, I'm uncomfortable because I don't get to eat what I want. All right. But I apply the discipline because I want to teach for another 30 years. And if I don't keep myself healthy, I can't get another 30 years. I can't get after it. So the confidence to do that is I remember what I want to work on. I work on it on a daily basis. I don't have to make progress every day. I just have to keep the goal in mind. I keep it clear, I keep stretching, and I get immediate feedback to who I am. And then that allows me to perform at my highest level. And that's what we're looking for in confidence is, can I do this thing when I'm asked to? Which would lead me into cold performance and all that nonsense that people have given themselves a way out of. I guess I have to explain that when I say nonsense. But we talk about cold performance and people say, well, my cold performance is this. And what you're really saying is you haven't practiced recently enough to matter. So you're cold, but you're not cold. You're actually falling apart. You're starting to lose your skills. So recency for the mind is 72 hours. Anything done over a 3-day span stays fairly recent. So when I step up to do a shooting drill, I do it cold in front of the camera all the time. It doesn't make any difference to me because I don't accept that. I didn't accept it in precision rifle shooting. I don't accept it in pistol shooting. There is no coldness because confidence says I'm able to perform this. Now, listen, if I'm before an MMA fight, I have to warm up. Otherwise I get injured. But if you threw me in a fight, I could simply fight, and I wouldn't accept that I'm too cold to fight. What would the outcome would be? It would be injurious to myself. So, a long explanation for confidence, but do the work on a somewhat daily basis, and know that you're doing the work and measuring yourself. Look at it with an eye that it's not aggrandizing or critiquing. Just look at it, see where you're at, make the improvement, change something. Keep changing things until you get what you want, and you'll be fine. Because I can't promise you happiness, but I can promise you purpose and contentment. And that's what we need as human beings. What is my purpose and why do I get out of bed? And does that give me contentment at the end of the day? And the answer is anything that refines you will help you do that.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Next question I have here is, what is the most important lesson that you commonly see on the range that people need to learn in order to reach their full potential? Maybe you've touched on that already.
I have, but I can give you a different one. I think the idea is that we used to think things were special. So we would like to talk about how people are superhuman now and they're achieving more than they were before. So I'm going to go to the sprinting world. Usain Bolt is the fastest man. All right. And when in comparison to some of the other athletes in the past, he was much faster. But it's not necessarily true. He is not exceptionally fast compared to them. What's happened is he's got better shoes, he's got a better track, and he's got a better starting position, and he's got a better measurement instrument, and he's got better coaching. So they said, some of the old sprinters in the 60s, he would have beaten by 12 or 14 steps, but that's not true once you factor out how much the shoes help, how much the track helps, how much the starting blocks. He would only win by about 2 steps. So he really hasn't gotten superhuman. What we've done is we've improved our technology. How does that apply to us? As the armed defender, we are the only category that has to go from concealed carry all the time. So our draw is exceptionally important. If we look at how good guns are now, they are exceptionally good. No shill intended, right? There's great guns out there. Everybody has a gun that fits them, that works well. They have a holster and they have a choice of a lot of holsters. Look at the work Filster's doing in concealment. Then we have coaching methodology that actually works. If you're in the 90s and you didn't have a video to watch, you didn't have anybody to ask, go, how could you get better? So it felt like you had to be super special to do these things. But as soon as one person broke the 4-minute mile, the next year 16 did, because nothing we do is extraordinarily special, but learning the path to it is important. So when you come to a class and you feel like everybody else can do something and you can't, that's not true. There is no fixed gift. You are not born with a certain set of skills. Nobody can come out of the womb and play the piano or paint or write a book or shoot guns or drive cars. What happens is we're always growing. And I think the biggest problem I see in class is people think that they can't do it, that they need to be more special than they are. And what I see is it resides in everyone, this extraordinary skill to get better. And I think everyone can shoot at an amazingly high level if they'll just allow themselves to accept that it's available to us. And the only thing that keeps us from us is doing the work and facing the truths that we don't want to face as we go along, so that we can get better sooner. And it doesn't matter, man, woman, child, old man, young woman, none of that matters. What matters is the people that are willing to step up and do it. So the only way you can get in my environment, the thing that matters most is respect. I would love it that you like me, and if you cared about me, that'd be great. But what I really want is respect from you, and I want you to earn my respect too, because that's what warriors live on, is respect. And the respect says this: you're willing to stand there and face the challenge and face the highs and lows like every other human being, and do the work and make no excuses, because you too can be as great as anybody that is your hero right now if you'll just step forward and do that work and be fearless in it. And that's the key to it. And that's the biggest lesson I think is in classes. If you get a good coach and they will let you know that you're capable of this, and they didn't help you get there, you did it. You can do it. And you've done it before, you can do it again, and it can be yours on a daily basis. And you can do it 90% of the time. There's no specialness in that. It is just people doing the work and suffering. Now, not all of us are going to get to the highest levels, but don't let that stop you either. All right, so you're not Max Michel or Eric Raffel. That doesn't matter. Be the best shooter you can be. Don't compete against anybody else. Compete against who you were yesterday. And then shooting becomes more than just shooting. It becomes the lesson of martial refinement. And martial artists have always been driven by philosophy of, how can I get better? Because the ultimate truth of battle is that we may die, and we must face that, and that the challenge in the end is coming. So you need to be fearless when you step up to the line. It's a small thing to draw a gun and fire, but you can do it. It is not a special technique. It doesn't reside in any place that other people don't have. And when we look at people that are really good at it, there's a decade of experience of working hard. They didn't come out of anywhere. Chris didn't simply get good at drawing the gun. Chris did the hard work. Adam did the hard work. I was there when Adam had a soul searching moment once or twice in his life about what was purposeful for him. That's how we get better. So don't accept that you can't get better, and don't accept any coach that tells you you're less than that, because that's the other insidious thing. Some coaches will keep you below their level, and they won't allow you to level up. I encourage you to be a better shooter than I am. I want you to succeed, and I would like you to beat me in class, because you will supply the motivation that I need to get better myself if you do so. And that way we all can be the best versions of ourselves.
All right. So I was just thinking about what you're saying, and I had to write this down frantically before it left my brain. You talk about how we're emotional beings.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you say that whenever we are looking at ourselves or looking at the truth or looking at whatever it is that we need to improve upon, we need to do that in a non-emotional way. So that seems kind of hard. Can you speak to that?
the conflict of the paradigm here. So it's something that I teach in class is emotionless correction. The important part of correction is to find the thing that works. When we correct ourselves with emotion, we actually drop into the amygdala, which is in charge of fight or flight. And that creates another sensory apparatus. It records how we felt, what things smelled like, how much light was available, because that was a survival mechanism. When we're trying to learn, we want to stay out of that as much as we can. And we want to stay present in the shooting and the truth of it. So yes, we are emotional, and we indulge ourselves by yelling at ourselves in our head, even though it's never worked. We're not where we want to be, but we love yelling at ourselves. We love telling ourselves how much we suck and we're no good and we're not worthy. And that's not correction. Correction is this: I didn't see the sights. I didn't press the trigger with any feel. I did not establish a ready position. I was not present while I did it. See, those are corrections that manage the emotion and funnel it into the expectation of a clear goal. So immediate feedback is the processor that we need to pay attention to, which is the correction. And then the clear goal is, what do I want out of this? And what we have to avoid is the moment where we want to shake our head and yell and scream and do all the things we should do in celebration that we refuse to do in that moment, simply to tear ourselves apart and tear ourselves down and to hold ourselves back. Because I got to tell you, it's scary to be fully you, to know what motivates you, to know the underlying subconscious of who you are and what drives you. Most people would rather be distracted constantly from that process by chasing a belt or a badge or a patch or another certificate or winning a match. But the problem is, once you do that, the next day will be utter depression, because you will still be the same person with the same problems. So when you step up on the line and you correct yourself and you get advantage over that truly emotional creature that loves to beat itself up, and you direct that beast in a meaningful way to improve, imagine who you will be in 1 year if you can do that. But it requires true measurement, because if we don't measure things, how can we refine them? We have no way to do that. And that's how we find the true critique inside of it. Anything that is us knotting up a rope and whipping our back and telling us how bad we are obscures the feedback and obscures the clear goal and keeps us from reaching for who and what we should be. And that way we can't be fully present. So I want you to be really emotional. I would like you to get a little upset occasionally. I'd really love you to celebrate. I just don't want you to yell at yourself, because that doesn't work. That's not how coaches work. If you need an example, listen to how I speak to you when I'm standing next to you. I am your friend, and I will tell you when you do well, and I also tell you when you don't do well. And when you're suffering, I'll stand there with you and we'll work through it until we get past it. But that's what I need from you. So you're correct. You have clearly identified the flaw in all this, is that we're using a certain system of logic, and people believe like the Stoics were not passionate creatures. What they truly felt was in the moment. Be fully present. If you're angry, be fully present. If you're truly in love, love. If you've done well, celebrate. If you need to improve, be dissatisfied and be fully present. Just don't carry it for the rest of your life. Do it when it matters. And that's what the coach has to do. That's what the shooter has to do. You have these rare moments that are meaningful, and we have to be there. Be present. Change in that moment. Don't allow the motion to dictate the past patterns. Allow the correction to be simple. And if it doesn't improve the problem, try another correction. I need a pulpit tonight. I feel kind of
You need a mic so you can drop it.
Yeah. Great questions, though. Great questions.
Okay, I just have a couple left. Oh my gosh, the time flies when you're having fun, guys.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. I just have a couple more here left, guys. And if you want to get in on any questions, please drop them in the chat now, because we're not going to be on here too much longer. I mean, I could go for hours with Brian Hill. He's just, yeah.
And with you. I enjoy it.
Well, I thank you.
You're a good catalyst.
All right, let's see here. Adam, did you have something you wanted to say real quick?
So, Brian, it's very obvious that your childhood comes out here. As much as the childhood may have been a tough one for you, I think we're the benefit of nature versus nurture. The analytical mind has forced you to go deeper into this to where it's a benefit for others. And as you and I both believe, the work you do, the work we do is extraordinarily important, and it shows through here. So I guess as part of Defenders, I just want to thank you for the deep analytical mind. And from my perspective, your childhood, bad as it may have been, was a blessing for the rest of us.
I wouldn't change it either, to tell you the truth. Otherwise, anybody who wishes their past was different changes who they are. I wouldn't change who I am. I like who I am. I'm not always content with it, and sometimes it's hard to deal with. Ask my wife, But I am glad I went through that. And even the last 2 years of the martial arts business closing and the legal battles and losing parents, old Brian had to die so new Brian could emerge. And this is the nature of transformation. And our hardest lessons become our greatest strengths. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think you and I are both very deeply passionate about what we do. And we want to do the best for our people. And we're willing to sacrifice ourselves to any degree to get better, so that we can lead them in the right way. And probably the thing that keeps both of us awake at night is, are we doing the right thing all the time? Are we taking care of them the way we should? Are they getting the best benefit that they could? So I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me.
All right. I'm not sure I've ever heard anyone ask you this question, but
Yes.
I do want to know this answer. Who does Brian Hill look up to and why?
God, there's a lot of folks. It's funny. There, the list would be endless. The people that influenced me, but since I've mentioned him so much, I find Alexander the Great to be a great inspiration, because he was a young man who had to handle warfare and an empire that constantly tried to kill him. I don't have to do that. My life is fairly simple. So when I read his essays that are thousands of years old now, I hear the same problems that I have on a daily basis. So I look to that. I look for people that inspire and engage and live on the edges. I mentioned Jocko Willink. I really like Jocko. He lives on the edge. When Chris is with me teaching in class, I look to him. I see Chris is a genuinely kind person to other people, and he wants them to improve. So that inspires me too. So if you're an artist, inspiration is everywhere in the world, from the sunset to the person next to you, to somebody that you look up to somebody's words that affected you. Probably who changed my life most, and I've never met him, is Gavin de Becker, because he reframed his story in a meaningful way. His childhood was pretty bad too, and when you read the first part of his book, he turned it into a positive, and he became a dark guide for people through a hard topic. So I live a lot. I live a solitary life, unfortunately, but it is more my choice than anything else. Hence, I teach so I can be connected to people. And there are so many people that I could say that motivate me and inspire me. And I don't want to be cliche or stereotypical, but I do find it everywhere in life, that somebody, I'm going to see him soon, is Scars. I don't know if you guys know Scars. That's the moniker he goes by, and he's embraced it. And he has a degenerative disease that doesn't allow him to move very well, but dude is doing the work and shooting every day. So I see his post, and he takes care of an elderly parent or father, and he does the work on a daily basis, and he finds a way. Some of my heroes are made up. I wanted to be Captain America. I think I turned into Batman a little bit more at the end of the thing, but these morals, these stories, are the hero's journey, and I find heroes everywhere I go. If you ever listen to Kara talk about what she went through medically and how she's recovered herself and come back to it, these battles are being waged on a daily basis. There are so many people to look up to, and what the greatest part of the world now is, you can open Audible and hear people's words. You can open a podcast like this and see people talking to each other. If any of you listen to Hardcore History, Dan Carlin said Joe Rogan is the most important interviewer that ever lived, because he's talking to people for 3 hours at a time and he's reached over 1 billion people. Now, I find that really funny because, Joe Rogan was the news radio guy, and then he was a Fear Factor guy, and he was a UFC guy, but now he's one of the most important interviewers. Love or hate him, he's an important interview, and he touches a lot of people, and he's introduced me to people that I would never heard of, like Jocko Willink, Tim Ferriss, many people that have really improved my performance and the way I look at things, because at the end of the day, people that we look up to let us know that we're not alone in our struggles and that you can overcome it, and they have an interesting way and a challenge to do it. And I find inspiration everywhere I go, because I got to stay motivated, because most of my life is sitting in a car, sitting in an airplane, traveling to a place, sitting in a hotel. And I don't get a lot of time other than to spend with my marvelous wife, who is the inspiration of my life always. She is a beautiful, kind soul that keeps me grounded in the earth that I should be in. And I think those are the things that motivate me. None of this is big names, but they're important people. Analytically, Claude Warner had a big effect on me. Because Claude lived with us for a couple of years, and I got one-on-one time where I could talk to a guy who taught at Rogers, which means he has a singular experience of teaching the same course 5 days a week for years at a time. And we could compare what was important and what wasn't important. And he got all the top tier operators through there. So I was able to pick his brain apart and really learn it. So, it's vague, but it's everywhere, guys. Inspiration and people to look up to is every moment of every day. You can find somebody. And if you're not feeling good, just crack a book open, start a podcast, call a friend, watch somebody struggling, and find a way around it.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think, that inspiration came from, I don't know. I didn't realize it came from everyday life. It really does. I think for me, when I had my kids, I think that's when I started seeing true inspiration on a daily basis. And that's important to me. So you never know where it's going to come from. It's everywhere. You're right. I have one last question, and then I want to talk about your new class that's coming up. So I know we're over the hour mark, guys, but I mean, you guys are okay with one last question, right? I am. I love having Brian on here, and I'm so thankful that you came on. So my last question tonight is, you talk about in your deliberate coaching class, you said something about that the curriculum was part of you, and you said that it's hard to teach who you are. Could you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, everything you teach has an unintended consequence. I'm sure you're learning that as you teach. You choose a drill and something else comes out of it, and you say something and something gets something different. But the difference with deliberate coaching, I've taught so many things in my life, but I've never taught the way that I think, the way that I process information, the information and where it came from. And I make the joke, it feels like running around on the stage naked, because there's no hiding. This is who I am. And occasionally I'll say something at class, and, especially when I talk about a client assessment, I see people get uncomfortable because they're like, man, all he does is pay attention to me all the time. And then, he's manipulating my emotions, but we all are, right? And this was the most honest me in teaching I've ever been. And it's utterly frightening and exciting at the same time. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. Next week, I go to Carrie's place, your upcoming guest, and she's got 20 shooters for me. I get to teach a giant class and show the methodology that I use. And I'm not certifying you to be Brian Hill. I'm certifying you to go out and teach. And these are all the things that weren't taught to me as a struggling martial arts instructor. I learned curriculums, I learned techniques, but nobody taught me how to approach myself, the client, or to develop curriculum in a meaningful manner. And that's what I found so incredibly vulnerable about this, and I still do. And when I get done after the third day of deliberate coaching, I'm done. I'm super done. Like, Shelly doesn't really expect more than 4 words. And how'd class go? Good. Are you tired? Yes. Going to bed? I am. And that's it, because I got to leave it all on the table. And this is the first time in my life, I got to say, I'm being utterly honest with the world. This is who I am, and this is what I believe. And that's a hard thing, because especially with the YouTube and podcasts and the written word, this stuff, it can trap me forever if I'm not careful, because I'm going to develop and I'm going to change. And it's not an orthodoxy, but it is very, very scary. And I got to say, I'm not scared of much in my life anymore. So I love that part of it. I love the putting it on the line like this, and watching and seeing how people use it or not use it, or adjust to it or not, and just let my soul flow through the whole program. So thanks for letting me have a moment to speak about that, because it's been a lot harder than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I can relate to that only on a small level, but starting these live streams, I don't know what
Mhm.
I was thinking. I just kind of threw myself out there, and it's probably a good thing that I didn't think it through all the way, because I think if I would have, I would have talked myself out of it and overthought everything and changed my mind. But I committed to it, and I'm showing up every week, good, bad, or ugly, and different, whatever, and just be myself. And it's been a good process, but it takes a lot out of you. And you have to really show up in a way that maybe you're not used to showing up. But it's a good exercise for anyone else out there wondering what it's like. It's an exercise for sure. So
Mhm.
I can relate to that on a small level. But 3 days, man, I don't know. Can't imagine. So while we're in this mode here, let's talk about your performance. What'd you call it? Performance shooting? That's your new class?
Performance shooter. Yeah. So, the idea is deliberate coaching came about because John Hopman is a really smart guy. If you don't know John from Filster, you should. John and Sarah are really cutting the edge of all this stuff. And John asked me a question that nobody in my life ever asked me, which I find really funny in retrospect. Is he goes, if you could teach any class, what would it be? And I really thought about that, and deliberate coaching came out of it. And I was very excited to tell him. And John looked at me and he said, well, that's great. He goes, I don't care about being a coach. I want to be a better shooter. It's like, all right. Yep. I see where you're going there. All right. That was all about me. So I wanted to make the class that takes all the neuroscience that we use in deliberate coaching and allows the shooter to access it in a personal manner just for them, allows them to gain ground, not only technically, but psychologically and physiologically, because there's a big difference between the two, how you make decisions and how your body reacts to stress. And it'll allow you to perform at your highest level, and then to actually look at the results and get meaningful data out of the results, and to develop a program or curriculum that allows you to excel, so you don't feel like you're dependent on anybody else. You always need a review, you always need an audit, but you can definitely perform at a very high level. And then you can change it. The performance doesn't have to be for a match, it can be for self-defense. So when I teach the self-defense class, the clear goals are everybody needs to be able to draw from concealment efficiently. They need to get a first round hit, and they need to be able to follow up shots or transition to another target. That's the very simple shooting goals. That's what we do. Or if I was a competitor, I'd be worried about transitions and being able to plan my stages and manage the physiological stress, which is the same thing that anybody's going to have to manage. So I'm really excited to do this program. It's going to be a 2-day program, and it's just about giving you a chance to get a coach to help you oversee your program and to look at what truly makes you tick and to learn to shoot better just simply for yourself. Now, I think coaches will really benefit from this because we need to be competent. We need to be great at managing our own emotions. Therefore, we can manage other people's emotions. And that's what performance shooter is going to be about. I hope it'll be simply different than what other people are teaching, because it's really going to focus on accuracy and precision, speed and efficiency, and performance mode, and what the difference is in training and how you can manage and muscle and press and let go to get the highest results that you can and overcome a lot of the hurdles that always attack athletes. When you look at the greatest athletes in the world, I like to use Michael Jordan because he wasn't exceptionally fast or strong or tall. He was a very good basketball player, but he was always ahead of everybody. And that's what a performance shooter should be. He should be so far, or she should be so far in the future that they know what's coming. They've seen this pattern before. They know how to manage it. They know how much they can apply to it. They know what they're capable of. They know what's not only possible, but what's probable in the moment. And therefore they can look at the results and know if they did their best job, if they need to improve a little bit, maybe they did an exceptional job, and they can perform at their highest level. So it won't be doctrine driven. There's great drills in the world already, but it will be driven on the idea of microflow, neuroscience, modern coaching methodology, how we measure things as athletes, instead of what I see in the shooting industry is purely personality driven. It's personality over principle. We've always done it this way. It works this way for a majority of folks, so we'll continue doing that. But every person it doesn't work for. So my goal as a shooting coach is I have to meet you, not the other way around. My job is to help you improve. You didn't come to class to kiss my ring and hear a war story from me and watch me shoot. You came to class to get better. So the only goal I have in life is in that class to truly observe you and help you get to the highest level and help you set up a program that won't disappoint you in the long run, that you'll understand when you're making progress, and to know that you're not alone, that you have a coach that cares about you and that is going to do everything they can to help you get better. And what I really want to make out of you is a peer. I would like to make shooting peers so that I have your input into it too, because not one personality can do enough of this. And I know it's grandiose, but I would like to change the culture in the shooting industry. I would like it to be more consumer oriented. I'd like it to be more modern. I'd like it to use things that we've been using in other sports forever. I would like it to be based on good scientific data instead of what we like and what we think and what our preferences are. And so that we see people get better sooner, because people like you that are teaching new lessons are the most important instructors in the world. They're going to feed higher level instructors so that they can, travel around and do cool classes. So my job is to help people improve. And that's what performance shooter's about. It's just about helping the shooter improve, not to teach other people, but how you can get to your highest level.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed with your classes and Adam's classes is you provide something during those classes where when you leave, you can continue growing. It doesn't feel like I need you standing next to me the whole time in order for me to improve or in order for me to do what I need to do. I actually get something from it and I can take it home and put it into practice. And that is huge, because I've been in classes before I met you guys where I just felt like, well, if I wasn't standing next to that dude the whole time, I didn't know what to do after he left. Where do I go from here? You guys are good about building a path so that students, once they leave, they can continue to grow on their own. And what is the saying, that you're your own first student or something like that? So, yeah.
Every coach has one client, and it's himself.
Exactly. So give us a little bit of information real quick here before we wrap up, because it's past your bedtime, Brian, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Could you give us some information about where people can find out more about you and about this new class?
Well, thanks to the amazing Shelley Hill, we have all sorts of information, because we know if it was left up to me, none of this would get done. So gratitude that way. You can find us at thecompletecombatant.com. We have 2 accounts on Instagram. I'm the Chief Chaos Controller on Instagram, and I post cool videos about shooting and stoics and ask weird questions occasionally. We have a YouTube channel that you can find us, thecompletecombatant.com. I am traveling the country right now. I'll be in Washington next week. I'm with Adam at the Ask conference coming up, which is a great thing. It's for the kids, and it's one of the only charity-based conferences where all the profits go to help children that are aging out of their foster programs, so that they don't know where to go. And I have a bunch more classes coming this year, so you have to look at my schedule to see all that. We're on Facebook. We're on everything. I don't think we have a Twitter account, because who does that for shooting, right? But we got the grams going, and that's important. All right. Because shooters love to watch people shoot, right? And you might even see a cool car or something on there occasionally. So, and I think that's it. I think that's all the stuff we do. And if you go to the website, you'll find everything you need because she does an exceptional job. And if you sign up for a class, make sure you thank her because otherwise you might not know where to go or how to get there or when the class is. Left up to me.
Did you end up naming the car, Brian?
I did.
Oh, you
But
did.
I named it after a Rob Zombie song. So unless you're a Rob Zombie fan, you're not going to get it. But it's called Black Sunshine, and it's a heavy metal tune about a hot rod. So it just struck me as appropriate for it. And I have a whole plan to turn it into the John Wick car. Chris and I are going to pinstripe it red so it looks HK. And I'm going to bail out of it in a suit carrying an MP5 and my HK with a comp on it. And I am no Keanu Reeves, but I'm going to live my best John Wick life. So don't kill my dog. Don't steal my car. Don't let my wife die because things could go wrong.
Oh man, that's the
Yeah.
best ever. Oh, I
Yeah, I'm
always
gonna-
wanted to buy a black pickup and call it Black Betty
See?
someday.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. Brian, thank you so much for your time. You've spent so much time with us tonight, and all of us, I'm sure, have drawn so much insight from you and information. Just a wealth of knowledge, and wonderful, wonderful show tonight. If I do say so myself, you were the guy doing the show, not me. But guys, if you have any topics or particular people you want to hear from, please email me, reply to the emails that I send to you with the links. I would really love to hear from you. If you've got feedback, I would love to hear, good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is. Please give me feedback to help me continue to help you and serve you the way that I should, because if I'm not helping you out, there's no reason for me to be here flapping my jaw. So please communicate with me that way. I just want to thank you again so much for attending tonight, and be sure to tune in next week for John Correa from Active Self-Protection. See you all next week.